Hey everybody, I'm Chris with Appable CRM. Appable is a Salesforce partner focused on building native applications on the Salesforce platform. By native, I mean we don't use any outside integrations or APIs, and your data never leaves your Salesforce org. Today we're going to look at the Searchable Manage package. Searchable is now available on the AppExchange, recently renamed Agent Exchange, and we're going to walk through how to do install and basic setup in your org. Okay, so let's go ahead and install Searchable into our org. I'm starting out on the Searchable listing. So from here, if you scroll down a bit and go to the Resources tab, we have a couple of helpful guides here. The admin guide is kind of our full version. Quick Start is also meant for admins, but it's just if you're looking to get started quickly, that's a good resource to use. And then next thing I want to point out, there are two different options here, Get It Now or Try It. And both actually will install the free trial. Get It Now is if you're installing into a production org or a developer edition org. Try It is if you're installing into a sandbox. I'm going to use Get It Now because I'm installing it into a developer edition org. If you don't already have an org sandbox that you want to install in, this could be a great way to do it because it already comes pre-configured with some data, and yeah, you don't have to do a whole lot of setup there. So let's see, on the confirm installation details page, everything looks good here. I'm going to go ahead and check the box to confirm that I have read and agreed to the terms. And then this allow provider to contact me box is optional, so I'll leave that up to you. From here, you want to go ahead and click the confirm and install button. And it should take a few seconds to get to the next page. After this, we will need to log into our org. So a helpful shortcut is if you just log into the org prior to that, or prior to doing the installation, then we'll save that extra step of you needing to have your username and password handy. Okay, so now we are confirming the details of who this app is available to. Always just leave it as install for admins only. It doesn't hurt anything, but there's no reason that your users are going to need our setup pages. And then once this is done, we're going to go ahead and kick off the install. Could take anywhere from 1 minute to well, usually takes a couple minutes, I'll say it that way. But if you're installing in the middle of the day when you have a whole lot going on in your org, or if there's just a lot going on the Salesforce AppExchange, you may see a little bit longer times. Okay, that is done installing. It's only been a couple of minutes. And so on this page, I can click done. That will take me directly to my org. Or we have our quick start guide, which you can click this view in another browser if you don't have that already handy. After installing, the first thing that we want to do is assign the searchable permission set to our own user so that we can do the setup tasks. So I'm navigated to the users, found my user, and then scrolling down to permission set assignments. And then in my list here, I'm looking for Searchable Manager. Let's see. And your base users are going to have searchable user, searchable manager, admins will always get. There are some other power users that you may end up assigning this to, but for now, we'll just say administrators always get the manager and base users always get the searchable user. So I'm going to go ahead and save that. And then from there, navigate to the app launcher and the searchable app. And the searchable app is meant for administrator setup. This isn't something that your end users are going to need this app assigned to them. Okay, so first time, I'm going to click this blue first time setup button, and that will create a record in the background that keeps my personal searches. And looking at my list, I don't actually have any searches yet, so that's kind of expected. I'm going to go to the library here, and these are 3 pre-configured searches that get automatically installed into your org with the searchable app. You can, however, deactivate these. So they're really meant to get you up and running quickly, but they're not something that you need to keep. Next, let's take a look at the searchable admin setup page. This is going to be our org-wide defaults, basically our guardrails that we're setting for our org and some different preferences for the searchable app. Let's just go ahead and run through a few of these. So the first one being allow base user to create searches. This is totally up to you and your org. Some companies will want to have everybody creating searches. Others will want to create the searches and then distribute them out to their teams. So that's really up to you. If you want to make a change here, all you need to do is go in and deselect the active box and click save. Keep in mind, refresh is going to be required. These global settings are custom metadata. And so there is a deployment that's happening in the background, which is why you don't see an immediate update here. But Now this has been deactivated, and what this will do is it'll prevent the user from even going into the searchable settings. Let's see. Next, we have allow user to change search mode. Typically, everybody's going to be toggling between searches, but maybe for your org, for various reasons, you're only using one search mode. So that can be set here. And then you can even decide whether or not you want the user to be able to kind of switch out of that mode. I've been using auto search this whole time where when I type the minimum number of characters is 3. So once I get to 3 characters, it will automatically search. There is a delay of 250 milliseconds, which means that you have to stop typing for a quarter of a second in this instance. This is something that you can configure. If your users tend to type really fast, maybe this is a lower number, or if your users are a little bit slower on typing, you can raise this, and that will prevent having a different search for every key that you type. Let's see. Next, we have max display fields and search fields. These 6 and 10 have worked pretty well. So this means 6 different fields that can be used and actually queried on. These are the index or search fields. And then display fields are what the user actually sees in their search. And let's see, open dropdowns on hover. This is something that I really like. Your users may or may not like. So there is also a setting on their individual user preference record if you want to turn this off. What it does is when I hover over the drop down, it automatically opens. If you turn it off, you actually have to click each drop down to open it. So like I said, users will either love or hate that, and it's totally up to you how you want to do that. And then lastly, these ones aren't as common, so they come deactivated by default, but you can also automatically launch a flow using these properties here as well. And so this could be either a screen flow or an auto launched flow. If you list a screen flow, what would happen is the user clicks the record and it's going to pass using the record ID variable name that you set here. It's going to pass the record ID of the record they click to that screen flow. And then from there, it's your own custom behavior. If you use an auto launch flow, it will open like usual and then run the auto launch flow in the background. So an example there would be, say that you want to create a custom record every time a search is clicked. It'll give you a nice paper trail of every record that's been opened using Searchable, and also would allow you to keep track of what searches are being used. Not sure that it's worth the data storage to actually do this, but that is something that you have the option to run your custom flows in the background. Custom labels are down at the bottom here. And so in the right-hand column, each of these values are a label in Searchable, which you could override. So if you wanted this search button to be go instead of search, you can override these using the translation workbench in Salesforce. So just let us know if you have any questions on how to get going with that. Even if you're only using one language in your org, if everything is in English, Salesforce still has some resources on how you can use translation workbench to override custom labels. Now that we're done running through all of the global configurations, let's just go ahead and jump into some examples and see if we can add the searchable Lightning Web Component onto our homepage for our users. And so I went ahead and went to the setup gear and clicked edit page. And then in the left side under components, I'm going to find the searchable LWC, and I can drop this anywhere on my page. So this works on home pages, record pages, and app pages. You could also use it in your utility bar, tabs, and some other places as well. So when I drop the component here, I can see the preview already, and I have properties on the right hand side here which actually look really similar to the global settings that we were looking at. Most of the time you're just going to leave these blank, and so by leaving this blank, that is going to just go with whatever the default settings are for the org. And so I'm just going to go ahead and save this and back out, and now we have our searchable component on our homepage that our users can use. While we're in here, I'm going to go ahead and do one more, and let's add this LWC to the Service Console utility bar. And we're going to go through an example of a kind of specific search that is not using our entire, our individual user searches, but is instead referencing a global search. So let's find our Service Console app here, definitely the Lightning app. And I'm going to navigate to my utility items and add a utility item here. So a couple different ways that we can do this. I can still drop my searchable LWC here. I'm going to give it a label, and let's see. My icon, personally, I like to use the search icon, probably doesn't really matter. And then panel width, let's give it just a little bit more extra room. Personally, I never start automatically, but you can do that if you want it to automatically open every time your user logs in. And then I'm going to use this global config. This is a search that is in our library. And so for this search, I want to do a specific search just for my cases. And so let's see, cases. I'm adding the searchable namespace at the beginning, which is only required if this is one of the ones that comes pre-installed in your org. If it's your own custom one, you could just give it the API name that you used. So in this case, we're using the namespace as well, but most of the time you won't have that. And then I'm going to hide the menu bar. This will prevent the user from actually toggling between different searches and kind of, just makes this a very specific search. And let's go ahead and refresh and see if that worked for us. So we've got our searchable tab here. I did forget to give it a name here at the top. So instead of searchable, I'm going to call this cases. See. Let's go ahead and add one more while we're in here. So I'm going to do add utility item again. This time I'm going to do a flow, and let's name this card activation. So I have created a screen flow, which we're going to use for this. Let's see, give it a different icon, and panel width 400 again. I like that. Okay, so the flow, let's pick our card activation screen flow, and then we can open up our flow builder to see what that actually looks like. I'm gonna go ahead and save that while that's loading. Okay, so really basic flow, just kind of show you how this works. But this is a use case that I've run into quite a bit where we need to do a search in a screen flow, and it could be multiple different objects that we're doing a lookup on. In this case, it is a debit or credit card. And so our searchable properties actually look very similar to on the utility bar here, where we can set all of our modes. I have done a global configuration, our card search, and then auto search is enabled. So all that looks pretty good. This is saved, and so let's go ahead and refresh our page. Okay, so our user has all of our searches in our bucket on the main page here on our home page. We also have a cases search, no menu bar here, so this search is only for cases. I could do additional filters here, or I could just click on the record to open. Or lastly, for card activation, I could just start entering a card number. Oftentimes, you're not going to know when somebody calls to activate a card if it's a debit or credit card, and so it's really helpful to just be able to start typing, and you don't necessarily need to enter the full card number. It could be just the last 4, last 6. So every org is going to be different here, and so the debit and credit card are custom objects in my org. Another use case that I've run into quite a bit where I have multiple objects in a search is with contacts or users. So in a screen flow, you may run into the situation where the user needs to pick either a contact or a user. So say there's a refer, and it could be somebody referred internally or externally. And so you could definitely do 2 lookups in the flow and have different conditional logic there. Or the searchable app really just makes it easy to do all of your searches in one place. And lastly, now that we've added our searchable LWC in multiple places in our org, I want to go through how to build a simple search. For this, I'm going to go back to the searchable app. You really don't have to do this. We have the settings gear icon on the homepage as well, but it could be easier to build with a full screen. So just so we have a little bit more real estate to see what we're looking at, let's find our default search, and I can see that our default search includes accounts, contacts, and leads today. I want to make a search for just accounts. So I'm going to go ahead and delete the leads and contacts from here. Now I have just accounts. And if you click the little eye icon, you can show and hide the fields there, or you could go ahead and click the edit button, and that will actually open up the configuration to edit. We can see our object API name of the specific search object. It doesn't have to be the name of the object. So this could be, for example, parent accounts only or households. So Searchable gives you the ability to filter by a number of different items, and you know for example, if you only want to see accounts that are active or contacts that are active in your org, that is something that in the global search might take an extra click now to filter down after the search is done. In the search fields panel here, I can see the fields that are actually being queried. So our account name, phone number, and website. So any of these, I could do a partial search and it's going to return those results to me. Display fields, these are what is actually shown to the user. And in a lot of cases, you can also search on, by the way, on fields from a parent object. So either the parent account or if you have a custom object that is related. There are a lot of different use cases where you may want to return accounts if it matches the parent account number or parent account name. So that's what that would look like. In this case, I am going to change the search to be child accounts. And we're going to add a filter criteria. Parent account ID is not blank. So if there's a parent account ID, then we know this is a child account. Let's go ahead and save that. And I am going to duplicate this. So let's click the copy button, paste that, and we can edit this to be parent accounts. And our API name automatically updated for us. And I just want to flip this the other way. So parent account ID is blank, and then go ahead and save that. And lastly, I'm going to rename our search because it's no longer default. And we'll just call this accounts. And I could keep going and add more search objects here as well. We could do a specific search object for the record types that we're using. I do want to make sure if I'm doing filter criteria that that the same record doesn't get included twice in here. So something to think about there. Now that I have my account search, this is in my user list. I could share this because I'm an administrator with other users in our org as well. So I'm going to go to the sharing settings here. As an administrator, I should say only administrators will have access to this. All users can see this view, add to library button. If I am not an administrator, but I have the Searchable Manager permission set, I can actually share this with specific users or groups as well. And I'm just going to share it with myself just to make it easy to see what this looks like. And go ahead and click the share button. And then, same thing, we want to go ahead and refresh. And if I go to the library, so these are our global, the ones that everybody can see, or I could go to the shared with me, and now I have that nice account search. When you're sharing the searches, there are a lot of options with the groups too. So either you can share with public groups or permission sets, which is really helpful. So if you have a certain permission set that team has, that could be a really easy way to do it. Or I'm sure the searchable permission sets in here somewhere too. So anybody who has this permission set would have access to see this search that I have shared as well. Thank you for taking the time today to check out Searchable. To find additional information or to book a consultation, go to appablecrm.com or feel free to reach out to me, Chris at appablecrm.com. Thanks for watching.